Um, one of the things I made reference to earlier is, what if my mom had a horrible time processing information or communicating properly, or she wasn't whole, healthy, and healed, and what she didn't deal with got passed down to me in a sense. It's hard to believe that you can pass on only physical attributes of people, right? Like, it's got to be something else to the equation that makes people do the things they do. 3-4 generations of, 5'6", 220 pounds. Somebody probably need to do something different, because that's not healthy, right? So that's some of the stuff that I kind of filter through, because I feel like I get in certain pockets of life where life is good, life is sweet, and then maybe I get comfortable, and then everything becomes this downhill trajectory because I don't put my best foot forward consistently. And so, yo, man, top of it, it's your boy AntMoe coming live and direct from the Mind of a Man studio. And welcome to another episode of the Mind of a Man podcast, where we give you a holistic peek inside of the mind of a kingdom man. The approach is 3-tiered: mind, body, and soul. You know what I'm saying? We want to deal with all those different layers and tiers as a man, with the end result, the desired end result being a community of men who are whole, healthy, and healed. And so, interesting thought as I even rattle off my little moniker or whatever you want to call it. But I wonder how many people actually really care about accountability, who really care about not necessarily being responsible, but, being able to lay all things bare. How many people really care about reconciliation? Even if it's something that you're doing in representation of getting yourself in a better place with your relationship with God and with people. It's very hard when people come at you a certain way, especially considering how you may be cut or built as a man. It could make you very standoffish, very I'll just wait and see what people do versus what people say, which I'm not even saying is a bad thing. It's just, thinking from the perspective of how most men deal with things. If you really think about it, most men don't have safe places to bleed, right? Which gives them all the room to justify the things they do in the dark. If I feel like as a husband, my wife isn't catering to me sexually, mentally, not stimulating me intellectually, not communicating well, that could be all the reasons that I could give to my friends who do the same dirt as me, the reason why I step out. It gives you a reason to justify, because we're all human, of course, but some of us rather lean into the frailties as an excuse to not be who God has called us to be than to call ourselves to the carpet in all areas. It's kind of easy to be held accountable when it comes to money or when it comes to your children or whatever. But then when it comes to women, it might be something that you want to keep, to yourself. And so I think as men, we got to start practicing being able to be truly open and honest, because the end result is always the people around us being hurt and our names being sullied. It's too many pastors being looked at a certain way because they can't keep it in their pants. And it's, once again, this will be my last time saying it, but it's not to say that people aren't human, but some people knew what their proclivities were before they walked into a situation. And instead of putting the right parameters in place, they just put people around them that will accept their sin. It is my very strong belief that most people want to go where their sin is tolerated. That's why I say whole, healthy, and healed. I want to be a whole man. I want to be healthy in relationships with family, with friends, with females that I may even be attracted to, but need to keep boundaries with because I'm married and because I honor and respect my covenant and I honor and respect my God, right? And then just being healed. There's a lot of things that we have all dealt with in our lives, whether it's being children being molested or being lied to, or my daddy wasn't there, or my mom was a crackhead, or whatever it may be. I believe that is the end result to being able to walk into the next phase of life. Sometimes I wonder if, and this is not to pass the buck or the blame, but I wonder sometimes if my father's sins are the reason that I can't mentally and even on some level spiritually connect and go to the next level of life, whatever that may look like. Like if it's something he didn't master, I get it, like the Spirit of God being ever present and being able to, be my comforter, my counselor, my paraclete, all of those things. But then there's the human side that still says you're frailty. The Holy Spirit doesn't stop you from sinning, period. Like you still have a free will, and it speaks to the dynamicness of how God created us, right? He made us perfect, but it also didn't stop Eve from beguiling Adam to eat from the tree. So the enigma of who we are as humans is we were perfect, and nothing has changed about Imago Dei, the image of us, us being made in the image of God, with the exception of the sin. So the Holy Spirit, in a sense, allows us receiving the Holy Spirit, in some ways, to me, allows us to be able to live in a way that puts us the closest thing to the garden besides Christ actually coming back for us and reconciling us unto God. So that might go over some people's heads, of course, if you're not a believer. And if you are, give me feedback on that for sure. But no, man, so I was on my way over here, and I wanted to record Jay Elliott tonight and have a conversation with him about, the whole Florida trip. And, to skip ahead, the trip didn't go as planned. And, he was able to move on from his job. I applaud him, like, making a decision with his life. We could all have all types of thought processes about, what people do and how they are with their family and who they are as a man and all that stuff. That's all cute. But most people never take the time to make decisions and choices for themselves and their families. And I respect the fact that you took a chance and a part of it seemed like a failure, but there was also an opportunity for success now, success in immediately and in the future, because you took control of yourself and your destiny, so to speak, to do something for yourself. For whatever reason, he's not here. You my brother, I love you if you watch this, but you flaked, you didn't communicate. You know what I'm saying? Like, do better, period. But I do love you. So, man, I don't know. I just feel like most people never take chances in life. And, the Bible says we're to be prayerful. We're supposed to pray and then do. Not, sit there and wait for a miracle to happen. Miracles are usually present because there's such lack of faith there that God has to pull a rabbit out of a hat to make people believe or see. Most of the things that Jesus did, were radically done to prove a point. It definitely served the people to make people blind and healed and, not, to walk and all of those things. But it also was to prove a point. And so Yeah, man, I don't know. I ain't gonna lie to you. I kind of lost my train of thought back there when I started kind of explaining the Jay Elliott situation. but I get back on that thing in a second. But no, man. I was on my way over here, and see, I came back to my thought. So chill out. But no, so I was on my way over here, and I thought, well, actually, before I was on my way over here, I was sitting at the house, and I was, watching stuff on YouTube that I normally watch. I can't fully do it because my family ain't into the videos and the podcast that I'm into, which is cool, but it just is what it is. And I thought about some disparaging things that I've heard from people, or people having expectations that weren't met due to my lack of execution or laziness or whatever it may be, right? And I remember I was watching a video on YouTube, true story. I was watching a video on YouTube, and this guy was like squatting like 405 or like 495 or something like that. And basically he like tried to rack it and he missed it on squat. He tried to rack one side and he missed. One side I think may have been racked. For whatever the reason, he ended up having to get help from other people. The bar the weights end up coming off the bar, all of that. His back and all that, for all intents and purposes, were saved. But it looked like one of the guys came, took the bar, and tipped it over. Like, maybe not even on purpose. Maybe it was so ever so slightly him just trying to make sense of this dude. This big black dude has a lot of weight on this bar. What is the best way to alleviate his issue? Come to find out, he may or may not have even touched it. But I said, man, the dude who came in, this specific dude, he was an idiot. Like, that is not how you spot somebody. He took offense to it. He goes, he defends himself, and then he says, maybe you should spend more time focusing on your failing podcast than me or these type of videos. Number one, I thought that's actually a great comeback. You know what I'm saying? Even though I wasn't intending on being disrespectful to him, I didn't realize that in me just simply sharing my thought and opinion on something on social media, that it could disrespect somebody. Like, go figure, right? But I didn't take offense to what he said. I was actually very intrigued. It was entertaining to me in a sense. And I said, you know what? I sat with it for a second. And then I thought, like, the funny thing was when I went to go look at his page, it looked like he was a believer. But even in a sense, it seemed like he was like kind of attacking me, kind of. But I said something to him first. So I'm not playing victim either. It's just the reality of the situation to me. So I went back and I said, you know what? I messaged them in the thing and I said, you know what? You're right. I received that. Right? Because depending on what you get into this for, it could be perceived as failing. If the numbers aren't going crazy, if I haven't had like I'll say 10,000, 20,000, 100,000, 500,000 view video or reel that I've put up, that could be considered failing. But the one thing that could make it very true what he's saying is, the fact that I haven't been as consistent. Like, I have 2 other videos that are done. I put out one video on Instagram. I put out a video on Facebook. I didn't put up one on TikTok, right? So my lack of input based off of my skill set and my talents or whatever people could deem that I do or bring to the table that could be entertaining or whatever. The way I speak, my mind, whatever. Okay, cool. I haven't done it. I haven't put the work in. It was another one that for the life of me, I can't remember, but it was like an insult. So it definitely sticks out, as something that happened, but I can't remember the exact thing. Well, the other thing happened today. I went to the gym to train with Kelly, right? Kelly Burke. And somebody we know, he's still kind of around, but I don't really see him like that or talk to him like that. And we were high-siding about something, and then he said something to the effect of, tell Ant my podcast is popping more than his, and I don't even have a podcast. And I thought it was funny because I'm like, the dude in question has talents and stuff like that, but speaking, being on stages, being in front of people in that regard is not his skill set. Podcasting, whatever, entertainment in that sense is not his skill set. So I thought to myself, like, wow, he really throwing a slug. But it was like kind of mixed in with some other stuff to kind of like soften the I'm finna throw a shot at you, which based off of what we were joking about wasn't warranted. But I took it on the chin, right? Ain't no big deal. But the thing that intrigues me and interests me the most is that there's so many people that want to be in this position. And I'm not saying that I am some superstar or nothing. No, I mean, would love to be in a position to have a studio of any kind for something that they love. The ability to execute, put videos out, get and have, be able to articulate your points or whatever your skill set is without interruption, without unnecessary bias, or whatever negativity could be attached to it. But it doesn't stop people from taking shots. It don't stop people from doing what they do. It also should make most people wise up about who you are and what you should be doing with yourself. I was watching a podcast that I frequent every week, and the dude had just turned 40. Matter of fact, it's the Secret to Success podcast, right? And CJ Maul, my boy E.T. the Hip Hop Preacher, and the Beijing sensation Carl Wesley Phillips. You know what I'm saying? And pretty much CJ just turned 40. And he was just kind of like going into the thought process behind life don't get easier. Whatever your goal is, it's not going to be easier to attain if you don't ever start it. Most people think from a standpoint of, okay, I'm going to go get myself together. I'm going to go get the money. Then I record. I'm going to go get the mentality and the mindset and the money. And then I'll come and start working on my gift. When the reality is you should be working on your gift immediately. It's your gift. It'll make room for you. I'm sorry for anybody watching on camera. My eyes itching like crazy. But yeah, it's a gift. It makes room for you. But most people get caught up in this perfection battle that we talked about before. It has something to do with it comes down to procrastination, but at the same time, it also is about thinking that you should be or do something more than what you already have or are to reach a certain level. For me, podcasting has so much more. Now, don't get me wrong. I would like a bag. I would like a bag from podcasting. Don't get it twisted. I would like sponsors. I would like, supporters, all those things. But what I really enjoy about podcasting is my ability to sit in front of the camera and get my thoughts out. Some things, when I went to my few counseling sessions, what I realized from my counselor is that just thinking about something isn't an action step. Just thinking about something isn't processing it. You got to get into a position to where you're not being passive aggressive because you don't want to start an argument, but you're not blowing up on somebody because you gonna get your stuff off. You see what I'm saying? So, yeah, man, I think even the reason I'm here now, whether Jay came with me or not, is just the simple fact that how long will I have expectations for others that I don't even have for myself? How many times will I put the work in at a 9 to 5 and not come put the work in from 5 to 9? or 6 to 10 or whatever. It's like actually after 12 o'clock at this point, I'm sure. But, you know, this work ain't going to do itself. This work is not going to do itself. And I hope that people don't just look at this podcast respectfully and see it as rambling or ranting. No, this is somebody attempting to take you through their thought process in real time. When things happen, I'm working to process it, and then when I sit down here, it allows me to get out what it is that I'm trying to, come across and like I said, articulate and communicate and whatever. One of the things I made reference to earlier is, what if my mom had a horrible time processing information or communicating properly, or she wasn't whole, healthy, and healed, and what she didn't deal with got passed down to me in a sense? It's hard to believe that you can pass on only physical attributes of people, right? Like, it's got to be something else to the equation that makes people do the things they do. 3-4 generations of, 5'6", 220 pounds. Somebody probably need to do something different, like, because that's not healthy, right? So that's some of the stuff that I kind of filter through, because I feel like I get in certain pockets of life where life is good, life is sweet, and then maybe I get comfortable, and then everything becomes this downhill trajectory because I don't put my best foot forward consistently. And so I don't have a lot to say in that regard, besides the fact that I'm working, I'll say it in a churchy way, I'm working on my own salvation with fear and trembling. Like, if Anthony ain't good, it kind of don't matter if everybody else good. Like, you know what I'm saying? If I'm the person responsible for doing X, Y, and Z in my family, then I need to make sure that I'm putting myself in a position to do that. Whether it's the studio, whether it's, real estate, or I don't care. It don't matter. I need to be making sure that I am putting my best foot forward. And so that is my challenge to men who watch this podcast, who listen to the podcast. Currently having an issue loading up my actual shows into Apple Podcasts. For whatever the reason, the back office information is just not working for me. But yeah, I to be honest, like, a lot of this was just centered around simple thoughts of things that are happening in real time, and then some of it is based off of things that have been a problem for a while, but they live in concepts. Meaning, me trying to figure out why I can start out passionate and inspired and all of these things, and then it just goes off the map. I mean, it only existed as a concept. It was never something that was put into action to guarantee that I would move a certain way in the future to get to success. Even if people ahead of me were unsuccessful and not as talented, whatever that means, and they put the work in and they got further than I have thus far. So I don't want to live in that land anymore. And it's important to me that I figure out what my shortcomings are ahead of time so that I can do something about them and move in a way that I've never seen for myself before. So we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to finish this thing up. You know what I'm talking about? But anywho, I'm back. And but to shut this episode down and move on to another one. Truth be told, I got a couple done. I want to work on a couple more. Chopping up the videos is a problem because I don't be feeling like doing it. But you got to get it done, my guy. So listen, if you got any thoughts on any part of this, please feel free to chime in and let me know. You've been listening to a rather quick episode from the Mind of a Man podcast. Your boy AntMoe, the hostess with the mostest. After all, what do I know? You know what I'm saying? Life is hard enough, so please don't just live elevated. Until next time, I love you. May the Lord keep you. I'll see you at the conference, man. Peace. Yeah.